The time has finally come. After a 3-month hiatus, I have time again to sit down and start discussing more of my wire wrapping techniques with you. For today's video, I wanted to go through my process of making bails for my pendants. All of my pieces are fairly unique, so the process of creating the bail is different for almost every piece, but the principles are the same, and that's what we'll cover today. The first thing I always consider when designing my bails is the contact point between the chain and the pendant. That's the highest traffic area of the piece and is the most likely to be worn away over time. In a design like this piece that has a coiled structure as part of the main part of the bail, I made sure that I had some 14 gauge half round on either side just underneath that coil to protect it from actually being touched by the chain. That way, as the friction of the chain runs through the bail as the piece is worn, it's never wearing away on that potentially fragile coil. I have here the frame for my next piece. We're going to walk through my process of creating the bail together. First, I have a piece of 14 gauge half round. Now, I like 14 because it works for my process, but really any thick and an exposed piece of silver could work for this section. You could use an 18 gauge square, perhaps, or a 20 gauge round. Really the point is just to make sure that any coiled structures in the bail are protected from the friction of the chain. To connect it to my frame, I grab just at the tip and bend it 180 degrees. From there, I can snap it right onto my frame. From here, I usually take my round nose pliers and just bend it over the thickest part. Gives me about a 6mm thick bail, but I could design this larger or smaller depending on the way I want the finished piece to sit. I really like fluid curved lines in my pieces, so I'm going to go ahead, take my nylon tips and my fingers, give that some bend. Secure it around the frame. So there we go, we have one half of the bail guard down. And if we look at this piece, it's pretty similar in shape. I'm going to go ahead and just weave this wire around through the rest of my piece so we can get back to the bail. Okay. You can go ahead and snip and terminate your wire in that point as well if you prefer. This is just the way that I like to construct my pieces. Next, I have another piece of 14 gauge half round that I'm going to repeat the same process with. Pinching it down, bending it over my round nose pliers, and then forming it along the line that I established with my first wire. From here, I can trace it through the rest of the piece however I prefer. And there we go. I've got the bail ready. I can fill in the piece with the rest of the details. I like this added durability because I design most of my pieces to hang on chains. But if you're designing something that hangs on maybe a cord or a piece of leather, you may not necessarily need quite as sturdy of a bail as the way I like to design mine. Play around with this technique a little bit and let me know what you think in the comments. If you haven't already, and you found this video helpful and you'd like to see more content similar in the future, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Now that my hiatus has come to a close, I I should be getting back to posting weekly videos. If you have anything you want to see covered in a video, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear your feedback and know what you'd like to see me cover in the future. As always, I hope that this helps you with your design process a little bit. To see more of my work, check out my Instagram or my website.